Hey guys, SuperHorrorBro Mike here, and in today's video we navigate our way through the halls of a haunted hotel, evading the clutches of a twisted serial killer known as Jimmy Hall, all the while chit-chatting with the ghosts of those he murdered to uncover his dark and mysterious past. This is At Dead of Night, the story explained, so sit back, relax, and let's begin our investigation. To understand what is happening in the story of At Dead of Night, it is important to have an idea of the game's core characters and gameplay mechanics. We play as a young woman called Maya, who is separated from her group. She receives a phone call to notify her everyone is booked into a nearby inn called the Seaview Hotel. After reaching this hotel to check in, Maya meets a peculiar man at reception who claims to be the proprietor, a man going by the name of Jimmy Hall.
I do this comedy character called Hugo Punch. He's sort of this comedic sociopath.
Jimmy wished to put on a stage show, performing under his alias Hugo Punch. After Maya decides to leave and settle into her room for the night, we see an already eccentric Jimmy take on a far darker persona, gazing into the mirror to reveal his manic alter ego Hugo confronting him.
They haven't done anything to you. Just leave them alone.
Show them who's boss. That's the way to do it.
The game reveals Maya witnesses her friend's kidnapping and imprisonment at the hands of Jimmy Hall, powerless to save them, at least for now. The phone lines are cut and the exits locked tight. However, Maya finds a master key in the reception which grants her access to many of the rooms found throughout the hotel. She also discovers a strange item known as the Spirit Box. This paranormal instrument can be used to contact ghosts haunting the halls of Seaview.
You have to find out what you did and tell everyone.
By conversing with these entities, we discover they were all victims of Jimmy and are only too happy to fill us in on his misdeeds over the years. Maya can also call upon the assistance of an item known as the Scrying Mirror, a looking glass which reveals where her journey need take her next. She combs through every drawer in every room to discover key items linked to Jimmy's past. So with this information in hand, let's take a quick look at each of the ghosts we encounter, their backstories, and their connection to Jimmy Hall. The first ghost we encounter is that of a little girl called Amy. She appears to us on the lower ground floor.
What's your name?
Amy was staying in the hotel with her parents many years ago when Jimmy was but a boy himself. The two had a friendship of sorts, although Jimmy was often cruel to Amy, stealing her possessions and threatening her. On one occasion, Jimmy took Amy's teddy bear and doused it in turpentine. He then set it alight, causing the poor girl to burn her hand badly as she was holding it at the time. Amy was in great discomfort after her hand was burned, and Jimmy's solution was to hide it from the adults by playing doctor and prescribing Amy with a large glass of whiskey to help numb the pain. This led to Amy becoming intoxicated and falling down the stairwell to her death. The tragic death of this child was a direct result of Jimmy's cruel actions toward her, and his determination to avoid getting into trouble with the adults. It shows his cold and calculated nature even at a young age. This behaviour led to a clinical psychiatrist called Dr. Bose arriving on the scene, and it is his story we move on to next.
Jimmy, I'm Dr. Bose. I'm just here to have a little chat, okay?
Jimmy was troubled from a young age. He drew violent images of people being tortured and acted out in often dangerous and toxic ways. Dr. Bose was entrusted with treating Jimmy by his mother Rose, a process which proved more difficult than it at first seemed. Jimmy didn't take to the idea of Dr. Bose and his treatment, which included taking a powerful sedative known as diazepam to calm his troubled mind.
This won't hurt, Jimmy. All you have to do is to stand still and stop moving around.
Jimmy instead decided to get rid of Dr. Bose at any cost. He first began playing dangerous pranks on the man, placing broken glass in his sandwiches as just one more savage example. This led to more serious action. Jimmy kept a scrapbook filled with newspaper articles. These cuttings detailed adults in positions of authority, such as doctors and teachers who had fallen foul of the law when they abused the children they were trusted to care for. Jimmy took the story of a disgraced doctor and applied it to Dr. Bose, telling his mother the doctor had tried to assault him.
I would never use force like that on a patient, Mrs. Hall. It goes against everything I believe in. You have to understand he's making it all up.
While at first Dr. Bose managed to persuade Jimmy's mother Rose of his innocence, it wasn't long before Jimmy convinced her otherwise, and she put in a call to the local police department to have Dr. Bose stripped of his medical license and imprisoned until trial. The poor doctor was at a loss. Jimmy had managed to convince the police and his mother of the man's guilt, and he now found himself desperate. While on bail, he crept into the hotel and hung himself in the elevator shaft, escaping the possible fate of life behind bars Jimmy had bestowed upon him.
There was no going back. My life was over anyway.
One man who did believe in Dr. Bose and his innocence was hotel proprietor Harvey. Harvey constantly butted heads with Jimmy and was able to see right through his deception.
I know you made it up, your little story about that psychiatrist. I know where you got it from.
He confronted him about a great many things, as well as arguing with Rose whenever he felt she was letting her son off too lightly.
Ridiculous. He wouldn't lie about something like that.
You sure about that? He lies about everything. Open your bloody eyes, Rose.
Ridiculous.
Oh, that's right, walk off.
I'm not listening, Harvey. You've just got it in for him.
This feud between Jimmy and Harvey turned from arguments to violence as Jimmy began setting up traps around the hotel for Harvey to fall into. These included setting up a crossbow from the medieval weapon display and rigging an electric heater to overload when powered on. Harvey was furious and retaliated by smashing up Jimmy's room. This led to Jimmy growing angrier and angrier, lashing out until Harvey locked him inside the boiler room in the hotel basement as a punishment.
You can stay there for the night, Jimmy. I've had enough.
However, while Harvey may have thought this would give Jimmy some food for thought, all it ended up doing was encouraging the young boy's full wrath. Jimmy liked to play with fire, as we know from his interaction with Amy and her toys, but this time he didn't target a simple teddy bear. He attempted to burn down the entire hotel. Harvey saw red and was blinded by rage. He kept an old handgun in his room and used it to threaten Jimmy. But Jimmy was clever. He took a fairly harmless letter opener and sharpened the blade into a dagger, using it to stab Harvey in the throat. Jimmy claimed he was threatened at gunpoint and so retaliated with an object he felt wouldn't cause a fatal injury. The perfect alibi, as Harvey comments in his final conversation with us.
It wasn't even a dagger. I never learned my lesson. Jimmy was always one step ahead of me.
After Harvey's murder, Rose stuck up for her son completely. She blamed Harvey for threatening Jimmy and took her son at his word, claiming he wasn't aware of how sharp the letter opener actually was.
Harvey was going to shoot Jimmy. It was just a letter opener. It was self-defense. Look.
Months and years went by and things seemed to improve for both Rose and Jimmy. The hotel business, which had been previously failing, began to boom as Jimmy started up a stage show called Hugo Punch.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage your entertainment for this evening, Mr. Hugo Punch!
Audiences enjoyed Jimmy's alter ego, despite it being sometimes a little crude and eccentric. They flocked from all over to stay in the Seaview Hotel just to witness Hugo on stage. The problem was that Jimmy didn't have control of Hugo. His stage persona was more than just an act, it was his dark side. The more he performed as Hugo Punch, the more Jimmy became disconnected with his capacity for empathy and compassion. He began smashing mirrors whenever he saw his reflection, disgusted by the torment he inflicted upon others over the years. It wasn't long until Hugo Punch did something truly terrible to a hotel guest.
It's just his comedy routine. It's his sense of humour. Oh, I'm sorry if you've been offended. Excuse me.
After he offended said guest on stage, she gave him some harsh words, and as a result, Jimmy, under the control of Hugo, tied her up and locked her in the basement. His mother tried to cover things up and make the bad press disappear. However, this incident drew in local tabloids, and Rose found the hotel bombarded by reporters looking to dig up dirt on her family. With the hotel reputation in ruins and his mother a nervous wreck, Jimmy was desperate to escape the control Hugo had over him, and so attempted to kill himself by cutting his wrists in the shower.
Jimmy?
Rose saved him, but at this point knew Jimmy was no longer her son. Hugo Punch had taken hold, and she finally accepted he was responsible for the horrifying fates of those victims she previously denied. To avoid falling prey to her son and end her own suffering, Rose used the turpentine and lighter and burned herself to death. We've now experienced all of the ghostly goings-on within Seaview Hotel. However, while we know what Jimmy did, we still don't quite understand why he did it. The answer to this can be found once again in Rose's story as we look into Jimmy's own origin. Years back, before her son was born, Rose worked as a receptionist at the Seaview Hotel, where she fell in love with a magician who purchased the building known as the Great Hugo.
Behold, I am the Great Hugo. I stand alone above all others. I am the light which illuminates the darkness. I alone am master.
The true identity of this magician was Hugo Reginald Hall. Hugo and Rose were soon married, and later had a child who they named Jimmy. However, Rose discovered her new husband had a sadistic streak and could be both cruel and violent. He beat Jimmy from an early age, hurting him very badly. One day when Hugo was beating his son in the basement, Rose plucked up the courage to confront him and killed Hugo with one of Harvey's baseball bats. She then mixed up some cement and buried the body of her husband in a secret room, which she managed to keep locked ever since. Of course, Jimmy witnessed everything and was traumatized for life. While the beatings from his father no doubt left an impact on Jimmy and how he behaved throughout life, it seems it was his father's brutal murder at the hands of his mother Rose which planted a very dangerous concept in Jimmy's young and fragile mind, that violence and murder were perfectly fine. It also meant that Jimmy held on to elements of a father he so suddenly lost, a vicious and cruel man who became a separate side of his own psyche. In other words, Jimmy was now a normal boy, Jimmy, and a sadistic, cruel mastermind, his father Hugo. Father and son inhabiting one body via severe emotional trauma. Over the years, Jimmy forgot who his real father was. After all, he was only 2 years old when he witnessed his father's murder and therefore managed to repress Hugo and stop that side of his mind from killing anyone. However, after Rose finally told her son of his real identity, an ill-advised idea which she acted on in desperation after his suicide attempt, he snapped and Hugo finally took hold of his mind.
I know Hugo's your father, Jimmy. I found your birth certificate, and I know Rose tried to kill him.
But she failed, didn't she?
At this point, presumably as a teenager, Jimmy began killing, and this was where his mother could no longer bear witness to her son's crimes. Maya does finally manage to escape with her friends, so it seems it won't be long until the police show up to apprehend this mad performer. However, before the game ends, we do get to see Jimmy and Hugo conversing one last time. This sequence shows Jimmy's imprisonment within his own mind, at the mercy of Hugo Punch.
Why do you keep making me do these things? Please just stop. Please just stop it, stop it.
You're always going to do it, Jimmy. I'm in charge. Not you. I'm in charge.
And with that, we have reached the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed this look at the story of At Dead of Night, and if you did, remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more horror-related content. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next video.